Computer. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to 1025 in Conversation. This is episode 11. I'm Jordan Walton, and today I'm bringing on a very special guest, the Toronto photographer David Leyes. And first of all, David, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of 1025 in Conversation, and it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I don't know, something just dropped and I don't know what it was. But anyway, thank you. We just dropped. Sorry. Anyway, no, thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Now, first off, if you just want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm a photographer. As I was telling you earlier, I got my start at the University of Guelph as the photo editor. I was in my high school. I was in the photo arts club, or the camera club. But the university got me kind of more into entertainment. I was shooting and interviewing bands, which was fun. And then during this time, my brother was also getting into photography as well. He started shooting actors. I was shooting music and entertainment. And then when I moved to Toronto, he was doing actors, and I would take on some of the actors that he couldn't shoot. So that then got me into shooting actors. And then through there, it's just this one long relationship after another with different people in different industries. So because of my photography, shooting bands and stuff through the university, I got asked to shoot for the Molson Amphitheater, which is now a Budweiser stage. But I was there. That led to an 18-year kind of mini career shooting at the Molson Amphitheater, and then there's so many different things. I'm shooting a folk music awards this Sunday, so it's weird and kind of beautiful and neat. This wild, weird life I've led through all the different connections I've made. So, in a nutshell, does that answer your question?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you also, well, you pretty much answered my other question as well. What got you into photography? So we're on a pretty good path.
Well, I did pick up a camera when I was a little kid. Well, when I was 16, I picked up a camera, and it had an auto winder, and just the sound of the auto winder like got me going. And also, one thing that I think people should know about their interests, or maybe their career paths, or when they don't know, is that photography was the only thing that I did in my world, in my life, because I had like three older brothers. Like I had an older brother, two older sisters, and mom and dad, and I never knew what I was doing. But I know when I did photography, it was the only thing that I did, that I could do, well, that I did by myself, and I couldn't get any help. The only person I could get it from was me. So it was a self kind of challenge thing. And this was back in the film days. So, taking your time and the whole processing of the film and wasting time. The first concert I ever shot was of the Rolling Stones in Buffalo, New York. I took 2 rolls of film and ruined both of them before the Rolling Stones ever came on.
Oh man.
So, you know what I mean? It's like, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
In 2012, I got to shoot them for the National Post magazine. So it was kind of cool. It came full circle.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, with a lot of photographers and with a lot of artists in general, they usually like to take influence from someone who inspired them to be a part of the same art form. Was there any, well, and this is like 2 questions really. Who were your favorite photographers like growing up? And were there any creative inspirations that you took in order to kind of create your style as a photographer?
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I didn't really, I guess I never looked, I mean, I looked at photo books, but I didn't necessarily have a specific photographer that I emulated or looked up to. I think just the thought of shooting bands, and then later on shooting models and shooting people, that was more of an inspiration. And actually shooting it and then developing it, just that process alone was the inspiration for me to keep going. And then my friend got me. He was the entertainment editor at the University of Guelph, and he said you should come to, you should be the photo technician or the photo uh, editor. And
Yeah.
I just talked to I went in and talked to the editor in the summertime editor, and he said, "There's the film, there's the camera. If you need it, go crazy." And that was just like, I was like, "What? Free film? I can shoot
No.
I can shoot whatever I want, or obviously whatever the stories were, but it just gave me free reign, and that was the inspiration. And then eventually I did pick up other influences like Ellen von Unwerth. She's a fashion photographer who's kind of edgy. She's really cool. Um, um, there's a guy named Art Streiber who I'm following on Instagram. He's really neat technically. But who else? I've not been asked that question in a while. But yeah, I get some of the there's Albert Watson. Um, Interview magazine is a huge influence to me, and they have a lot of cool photography. But anyway, so there. Because I'll
Awesome.
keep talking, so you gotta watch it.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like you mentioned, fashion photography, what's your favorite kind of work when it comes to being a photographer? Is it more editorial, like, for example, a Hollywood Reporter? Is it more of a fashion type of thing, like Vogue or Gucci? Or is it more of like the more commercial stuff, like for Coca-Cola or Starbucks or whatever?
It's funny because up here in Canada, it's well, it's a little different. It's weird. I chose actor photography way back, and I really didn't deviate too far from it. Although I have done some fashion, and I'm doing some music stuff this weekend, and I did do some music stuff. I also work for a couple of production companies up here in Canada that do a lot of movies every year. So I'll shoot the posters for that, which is a lot of fun. But as far as the real commercial stuff, um, I don't I don't do a lot of that. I did get a call from Playback magazine in which they got me to shoot Chris Hemsworth, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I was There's been a lot of great opportunities for me. There was a festival up here called the Luminato Festival, in which they have a lot of different the art director, the art, yeah, I guess he's the art director at the time, Jorn Weisbrot. He's married to Rufus Wainwright. Anyway, but he was the art director. But he got these dance troupes, Pina Bausch, Mark Morris. He got Isabella Rossellini to come up when she was touring. They got Joni Mitchell to come in. Who else? Also, he plays Spider-Man. No, he's in Spider-Man. What's his name?
Tobey Maguire,
Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. So sorry, he's on my website, but I forget. But they got Willem Dafoe to come up because they did the Life and Death of Marina Abramovich. So I got to shoot Marina Abramovich. I got to shoot Willem Dafoe. I got to shoot all these people one-on-one, which was really cool. So few and far between, I do get some really great opportunities. And this weekend will be one too, because there's a lot of folk musicians coming to this event. So it's neat. I get to do a lot of so the acting community is pretty big here, so that's kind of my bread and butter, as well as the other production things. But yeah, that in a nutshell, if that makes sense.
All righty. Now, moving on, I want to talk about a specific photo that was taken from you.
What do you mean? What specific photo?
Here's the thing. Okay. So back in 2018, there was an intense rap beef between two incredibly successful acts, the Canadian superstar himself, Drake, and the Virginian Clips veteran, Pusha T. Of course,
Drake?
yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
no, yes, going. I'm
Of
sorry.
course, no, you're good. You're good. Of course, Pusha T fired some shots at Drake on the song Infrared. off of his closing album. Well, the closing track off of his album Daytona. A few hours later, Drake released W Freestyle, and then 4 days later, Pusha T released The Story of Adidon. And one picture, and the picture that was used as the cover art was one of the pictures that you photographed of Drake.
Yeah.
If I can, let me see something real quick. Let me see if I can actually pull the image up. Yes, give me 1 second. Here it is right here. As you can see, this was the full image, right?
Yeah. And then you showing the full image, yeah.
Yeah. So, wait a minute. So as you can see, it's the full image. And originally, this photo was met with a lot of controversy, of course,
right,
of a Black man being in blackface. That was like the original cover. But then a few hours later, rapper Lupe Fiasco revealed the entire image of the happy, clownish type of Drake and then a very sad and depressed version of that image. I want to ask you, David, and of course, Drake revealed that this was way before he ever became a rap superstar. When Drake came to you with the idea of this image, were you kind of skeptical about it, or were you kind of understanding where he was coming from, being a young Black actor, kind of exposing to Hollywood what, roles like that painted for us African Americans?
Right. So I was incredibly pumped and excited because to me, and I said it like when all this came out, I said it in a tweet because somebody said, aren't you going to apologize or something? And I was like, why would I apologize for being a part of such a strong message? So basically, two Black actors, Masson Eldezig and Drake, came together and they were working on this. I guess it was it
was like a short film, basically,
called Us and Them. And so basically, they're taking white racist culture and applying it to themselves, basically saying, "Hey, we're still being in 2007 when it was taken. We're still being, typecast and put in our little boxes on this day, and we think it's bullshit." So I was like, no, this is fun. And I directed them a little bit, but when I posted the photo, I posted it as a diptych, basically showing the whole like mammy kind of thing, and then the actual realization of like this is crap. And it's neat because now in 2022, especially up here in the Canadian acting world, the pendulum has swung incredibly to casting way more BIPOC people, and it's very, people have woken up, to use a cheesy phrase, but it's gotten a lot better. But to answer your question, I was very pumped. I was very excited about it.
Yeah, because when I actually first saw the image, I personally was very skeptical. I was very hesitant and skeptical because on one hand, this is one of my favorite musicians, but on the other hand, it's something that paints people who look like me in a very negative light. I mean, I've told this story like many times. Like when I was younger, I used to watch like old Merry Melody cartoons where the animators would portray African American characters with those type of features. And it was very interesting hearing that coming from you, that you, Drake, and his old friend wanted to make a statement about this culture that has been going on, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it can be confusing if you don't know the context. And so that's why it was really interesting, because to be totally honest, I totally forgot that I had that image. And then I remember saying, like, because Drake was very popular, and I remember saying to one of the actresses that was in my studio, and I said, yeah, it's like my brother, who's also a photographer, I said, yeah, Tim shot him. All these other contemporaries of mine in Toronto had shot Drake. And I said, and I never shot Drake. And she goes, yes, you did. In the S&M thing. And I went, oh my God, I did. And then I remember like going back and then putting them together as a diptych and stuff. And I thought, this is really cool. And I put it on my website, and because I liked it so much. And great. And then one day I have many co-op students, or used to, before COVID. I'd have co-op students in here, and I had a black girl here as my co-op student, and she saw the photo, and I said, "Do you like it?" She goes, "I love it." I said, "Do you think I should put it on Instagram?" And she goes, "Yes, for sure, put it on Instagram." And I put it on Instagram, and immediately uh, two acquaintances of mine who are both black, both like said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "But it's Drake. It's like he wanted." And I tried to explain it to them, and both of them were like, "No, no." And I took it
Yeah.
down, and I was just like, "Okay, if it's going to cause that much controversy, fine." But I wished, a part of me was sad because I thought if we could put it into context, then I think people would understand and respect the statement.
Yeah.
Uh, and and then, and the funny thing is like if I ever ask any of my clients, "Oh, did you see the picture of Drake and blackface on my website?" They go, "No," and it's
Yeah.
on there. But it goes to show that people, they don't really look. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I forget what my point was. But yeah, that I've had it on there. And then when that came out, I was literally sitting in the studio when the shit came down with Pusha T, and I was like, and the phone did not stop. I literally
Yeah.
had every single news agency from the United States phoning me.
Yeah.
I had four people from TMZ. Harvey wanted to interview me live, and and it was weird because I was conflicted. I didn't know what I wanted to tell my story, but I had worked with this publicist on a movie, and I phoned her, and she said, "Don't talk to anybody." And I was like, and I was a little. So this is literally the first interview I've had talking,
Yeah.
but but yeah. So it was very interesting because everybody wanted to talk about it. Uh,
Yeah.
the neat thing was, I think, it after that after that happened, the conversation started again. And I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of interesting. And the New Yorker actually wrote an article about it on their online thing. The only thing that bothers me is I hope um, I Pusha T, I think, needs to take some responsibility, and he's just being an opportunist as far as I'm concerned, and not a really healthy one. And if we look back on his history, one of a post that he did was a photograph of Whitney Houston's bathroom.
That was his cover art for Daytona. It was okay, and I'm just gonna bring up a few more points, and then we'll just jump to the next question.
Sure.
But I love this conversation. So Kanye, who is his boss, basically Kanye West, essentially pitched Pusha T the idea of using Whitney Houston's bathroom for his album cover of Daytona. And in Pusha T's music, he talks a lot about drug use and how he used to sell drugs back when he was younger with his brother Malice, who they formed Clips with. So, and it was really interesting because Pusha came out at Drake saying that he doesn't talk about Black issues because of this, image that you photograph, while his music told the downfall essentially of a lot of inner city neighborhoods based off of the drugs that he sold.
Wow. So that's really interesting. I'd never heard that. I need to do my research. No, but that makes a little bit more sense now. But wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. I mean, but I like, did he have permission to use it though? Was he sued because of it?
I
Uh,
mean, I'm guessing he took the image that you
Oh,
photographed. It was
oh,
probably on your
oh,
website.
no, mine. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
talking about the
Whitney Houston one.
yeah, the Whitney Houston shot.
Okay, so for that one, Kanye actually paid money for that image. I'm guessing from the original photographer, and then that's how that became the Daytona cover art, basically.
See? It's
Yeah,
because I said take it down, and they took it down immediately.
yeah.
But that's it's too late. Everybody's got it. But yeah.
Well, yeah. So moving on, when it comes to visual art, of course, photography was one of the earliest examples of that. Of course, we had paintings and all that, and then photography evolved into film, and then that's how filmmaking became so big because of the tools that a lot of photographers use to create these images. So I want to ask you, David, how do you view photography in the larger spectrum of visual art?
That's a loaded question. Well, I mean, it's a huge. Oh, have you got a couple hours? No, we could. It's. I think it's huge. I think it's absolutely huge. Everybody now is a photographer, so it's really, really interesting. It because you can take a really good photograph with the new iPhones, with the new Samsung. So it's interesting because excuse me, I just came up with this. There's a quote from Mr. Rogers that I've been seeing a lot on Instagram, and he's basically saying how he's worried because there's so much an importance being put on information, and I think this directly relates to a lot of photography. I think photography is great. I think a picture tells 1,000 words, but at the same time, um, uh, but what was the question exactly, though?
It was, how do you view photography in the larger spectrum of visual art? So the large spectrum of visual art,
Right.
there's paintings, there's film, there's theater. A lot of people will view music as well, because as we listen to music, we kind of visualize the story that's being told. So how do you view photography in that wide range, spectrum?
Well, it's I think it's taken a back seat to a certain degree on video, on moving images, um, but I still think it's incredibly powerful.
Mm,
Um, it can, for instance, Banksy uses a lot of images in photography and superimposes them. Um, but I still think it's going to be. I think the moving image is going to be way more uh, important and prominent um, with me with Instagram and Instagram's push to do more motion. Photography itself, um, obviously in advertising, um, I still think it's for me it's really important because I because of this what I do, and I think it it's important for me to capture because I shoot people and images and I like to capture their like to I like to capture people's emotions, and I
yes,
think one thing about um, moving images is it's very easy to kind of capture like a laugh or something or emotion through a dialogue or through words and motion.
absolutely.
Whereas a still image, you've only got that split second to capture that one little moment, and that's where I like to. That's where I'm coming from. But at the same time, um, I unfortunately I do think still photography is going to maybe take a bit of a backseat to the motion because but yeah, um, I don't know. It's really interesting because of I don't take a lot of public transit up here because I live an hour away, so I drive a lot. But but yeah, I still think it's a very powerful medium, uh,
Hmm.
but and one that I think will evolve, especially with it's like I joke about, but I have this one quote, and it's basically the expansion of the universe directly affects human beings. And
Absolutely.
it's like whatever anybody is doing now, 10 years ago, we did a lot less. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what your profession or what you do, we're doing more and more and more. And the 512 card that I used to have turned into the 8 gigabit card. Now it's a 64 gig card. Now it's these cards are useless because they don't. Now we're using the sorry,
You're
I
good.
did something, and now we're there were tiny little things that hold 64. So
Yeah.
it's like boom, boom, boom. So now we're going to be able to create images, and I bet it's going to be in maybe 10, 15 years time. We'll be able to create an image that you'll be able to walk into. Uh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be wild. But I'm
Yeah.
really glad I started from film. this, this is a
Yeah.
really cool. But well, actually, I found this. Where did I find this? I found it somewhere. But this is an old from the '60s, an old roll of film that hasn't
Wow.
that hasn't been developed yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what's on that. It's not from me. I don't know where it's from. But again, it with that accessibility, with that immediacy comes uh comes experimentation, hopefully, but also I think there's a complacency too, because we can take a photo like that and go bang, 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 bang. We forget, we move on.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started, I would take photographs, and as I said before, just the thought of what was the film going to turn out like, what were those images going to look like, what did I
Yeah.
do, did I do it right, just that anticipation I think is gone now. But also when I see it, I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old, and my 10-year-old is constantly coming up to me. I gave him my old phone, and he's now constantly like taking an image and farting around with it, and
Yeah.
just like making it like wild and crazy. And I have
Yeah.
to make sure to go, that's weird.
Yeah. That's something I used to do a lot when I was a kid. I used to play with like old disposable cameras that you get like at a pharmacy, and I would just start taking pictures like
So
willy
that's
nilly.
so you're interested in photography as well.
Yeah, I actually am a photographer as
Oh, cool.
well, and
It's
I
fun to
just
do that.
do
Right
this.
on. Which is good. So you started in film, like you know what
Yeah.
it is. Did you ever develop a role yourself?
Not really. I would just go to like the pharmacy photo thing, and then they would develop it
It's
themselves,
still
basically.
neat getting it from them and looking through it,
Yeah.
you know, which is neat because so many people have no idea what that's about now. And I kind of, it's fun to see a resurgence in like old media, like, vinyl but film. The only thing that bugs me about film is that it's pretty toxic and
Yeah.
environmentally bad. But it's neat because I have all my, you can't see them, but all behind me I have all my old cameras that I started with. And hold on, I'm not compensating at all.
Oh my God.
It's cool because this is it's not focusing. There we go.
There we
But
go.
specific camera would do. You're familiar with medium format?
Yes.
Okay, so when we think of medium format, we think of like a Hasselblad, right? So
Absolutely.
this was my first camera that I ever used, and it would do square format.
Yeah.
That camera that I just showed you would do. It was funny because that camera that I just showed you, the big one, would do all the different types of formats. So
Yep.
it would do 6:4:5, 6:6, 6:7, and 6:8 formats, which was
Hmm.
really cool. It was a tilt shift, but then digital came out.
Yeah.
So digital, and this is a phase one H.2.5 digital back that was
Yeah.
only like $30,000, and now it's a paperweight. But
Exactly.
still, it's a 45 meg file, right?
That's what's
But
up.
because it's so antiquated and because of the connections and everything, I don't use it. I should, I could, but I'm using more now. I've got my Nikon. I did a movie, and because I was shooting this movie, I had to shoot silently, and Sony had come out with the A7 III, and I was one of the first people in Toronto to get one, which was really cool.
That's
I
cool.
didn't know, but it has the silent mode, which was so cool. And technology has just grown leaps and bounds. And if you were to tell me, like, what bothered me about Sony cameras, well, digital cameras, where it was the electronic eye thing, it was really bad technology, like maybe 10 years ago. So when you look through the eyepiece, it wasn't very good. It was bad, but then it improved. But the wild thing that I love about the new photography is that you can look through here and do the live view and manipulate the f-stop and the shutter speed, and it'll go darker and lighter. And then when you shoot, whatever you shoot is what you get.
Absolutely.
So and just that stupid thing alone was huge and made me a better photographer, made me definitely a better concert photographer.
Yeah.
Because, but yeah, so technology has grown leaps and bounds. And I think the technology that we have with us today is old.
Yeah.
Working on new stuff. So it's going to be wild. It's just, I can't keep up with it financially.
Yeah. And that honestly concludes our interview, since you already answered what future projects you were going to be working on, like the festival that you were going to be doing and all that type of stuff. So yeah, David, thank you so much for sitting down and having this great conversation with me.
Jordan, thank you for reaching out.
Of course, of course. And thank you guys for watching episode 11 of 1025 in Conversation. I'm Jordan Walton, along with David Leyes, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Thanks, man.